Okay, let's jump right in with one of history's most incredible figures, Saladin.
A name that, even today, really stands for something. Honor, justice.
Absolutely. We're talking about Middle Ages, the height of the Crusades, and Saladin is this central character who completely changed the game.
He's the one who united the Muslim world when it was really fractured and fighting itself.
And that's what we're going to explore. How does a quiet, studious kid, someone more interested in books than battles, become one of the most respected military commanders of all time, respected even by his enemies?
It's a fascinating transformation. The ultimate quiet kid in the class who surprises everyone.
So let's start at the beginning, his origins. He was born in 1137 in a place called Tikrit. That's in modern-day Iraq.
And his family wasn't just, an average family. They were Kurdish, and they already held some pretty important government and military jobs.
Right, but they weren't exactly at the very top of the power structure. Being Kurdish made them slight outsiders in a world often dominated by Arabs and Turks.
Which, as we'll see, actually worked to his advantage later on. It allowed him to build his own alliances.
But here's the really surprising part. Young Saladin, he wasn't what you'd call a military prodigy. Not at all.
No, he was the opposite. He was quiet, a scholar. He spent his time with religious studies, Islamic law. He was known for being more of a thinker than a fighter.
So where did the shift happen?
Well, he moved to Damascus and served under his uncle, but more importantly, he learned from the ruler there, Nur ad-Din, a really powerful leader.
And Nur ad-Din was already trying to unify the Muslim states.
Exactly. So Saladin got, a front row seat to statecraft. He saw firsthand that a great leader needed to be more than just strong. You had to be smart, strategic.
He learned that respect and legitimacy were just as important as having a big army.
And that's when his own military career sort of kicks off. He goes with his uncle, Shirkuh, on these expeditions to Egypt.
And Egypt at this point is, well, it's a mess. It's ruled by the Fatimid Caliphate, but they're weak, politically unstable.
Ripe for the taking, basically. A power vacuum.
So his uncle dies there. And this is where it gets interesting. They need a new vizier, which is like the chief minister.
And the different factions in Egypt, they can't agree on who it should be, so they pick Saladin.
But why him?
Because they thought he was a nobody. They saw this quiet academic kid and assumed he'd be a puppet, someone they could easily control.
That was a huge miscalculation.
Colossal. He immediately proved them wrong. He moved so fast. He didn't just take the job. He consolidated power. He put his own loyal people in key positions, reformed the economy, rebuilt the army.
Oh, well, everyone else thought he was just keeping the seat warm.
Exactly. And then in 1171, he makes his big move. He dissolves the Fatimid Caliphate, ending their 200-year rule, and makes himself the leader of Egypt.
And with Egypt, he gets everything. The wealth, the trade routes, a navy.
He gets the resources. Suddenly, he has the money and the manpower to think bigger.
And bigger for him meant looking north, back towards Syria, places like Damascus and Aleppo.
Right. His mission was clear. The Muslim states were all fighting each other. He knew that to face the Crusaders, they had to be united. One single, powerful front.
So how did he do it? He couldn't just fight everyone.
No, and he didn't. It was a mix. He used diplomacy where he could, making alliances, signing treaties, but he also used military force when he had to.
What seems to stand out, though, is how he treated the people he conquered.
Yes, he was known for being fair. Even with rival Muslim leaders, he showed respect. He wasn't a tyrant. He was building a coalition, and that made people trust him.
So he builds this massive empire across North Africa and the Middle East, and now he has the power to focus on his ultimate goal. Jerusalem. You really can't overstate how important that city was. For Muslims, Christians, and Jews, it was and is the holiest place on earth.
The Crusaders had captured it back in 1099 in a really violent and bloody conquest. It had been in their hands for almost 90 years.
For Saladin, taking it back wasn't just about land, it was a spiritual quest.
Deeply personal. But he was also a pragmatist. He knew Jerusalem was heavily fortified. A direct assault would be a disaster. He had to be smarter. He needed to take out their main army first.
And that opportunity comes in 1187, the Battle of Hattin. This is where we see his military genius on full display.
It really is a masterclass in strategy. The Crusader army is marching to a city. Saladin is besieging near the Sea of Galilee.
And Saladin knows this land like the back of his hand. He knows how hot and dry it is in the summer.
And he uses that. He lures them into a trap, into this arid area between two hills called the Horns of Hattin. He completely cuts them off from any water source.
Imagine that. You're a Crusader knight, wearing 60 pounds of metal armor, marching under the blazing sun. And you can't get a single drop of water.
And all the while, his archers are constantly harassing them. It's physical warfare, but it's also psychological. By the time the main battle actually starts, the Crusader army is already defeated. They're exhausted, dehydrated, demoralized.
It's an overwhelming victory. He captures their most important leaders, even the King of Jerusalem. The main Crusader army is just gone.
Which leaves the road to Jerusalem wide open. He marches straight there.
The city's defenders knew it was hopeless. Their entire army was destroyed, so they surrendered.
And this is the moment that really defines Saladin's legacy, how he takes the city.
Because it's the complete opposite of what the Crusaders did 88 years earlier. There was no massacre.
None. He let the inhabitants pay a small ransom to leave safely, and those who were too poor to pay. He and his brother often paid their ransom for them out of their own pockets.
He protected the holy sites, made sure there was no violence. It was an act of incredible mercy and chivalry.
And news of that spread everywhere. It cemented his reputation for being an honorable leader, but it also triggered a massive response from Europe.
The Third Crusade, and with it comes his most famous rival, King Richard I of England.
Richard the Lionheart.
Yes, Richard the Lionheart, probably the most famous warrior king in European history.
So now you have these two giants of their age, these two brilliant military commanders about to face off.
And what's so incredible is the mutual respect that develops between them. They were sworn enemies, but they admired each other's skill and courage.
It's true. They never met face to face, but they sent messages and gifts back and forth. There's that famous story, right?
Oh, about Richard getting sick?
Yeah. Richard comes down with a really bad fever. And what does Saladin do? He doesn't press his advantage. He sends fresh fruit and snow from the mountains to help bring the fever down.
It's an amazing gesture, sending aid to the commander of the army you're trying to defeat.
It speaks volumes about his character. For Saladin, this was part of an Islamic code of conduct. You treat your enemies with dignity. But it was also smart politics. It made him look more civilized, more legitimate.
There's another story, isn't there, about a wedding?
Yes. During one battle, he was told that a wedding was happening inside a specific tower that his army was about to attack.
And he ordered his men not to fire on that tower.
Exactly. He believed there were lines you just didn't cross. Even in the middle of a war, there was a place for morality.
But the war itself was still incredibly brutal. The siege of Acre, for instance.
Oh, that was a nightmare. It lasted for 2 years. A long, grinding siege. Both sides just poured resources and men into it. Thousands died, not just from fighting, but from disease.
In the end, Saladin lost the city of Acre, but he kept his main army intact.
And that was key, because Richard took the city, but he couldn't push on to take Jerusalem. What the siege proved was that this war was a stalemate. Neither side could land a knockout blow.
So if fighting wasn't working, what was left?
Diplomacy. In 1192, with both armies exhausted, Saladin and Richard finally agreed to a truce, the Treaty of Jaffa.
And what were the terms?
It was a compromise. The Crusaders got to keep a small strip of land along the coast. But the most important part was about Jerusalem.
Saladin kept control of the city.
He did. But he guaranteed that unarmed Christian pilgrims would have safe passage to visit their holy sites.
So the city remained under his rule, but it was open to people of all faiths. A diplomatic solution where war had failed.
A truly remarkable end to the conflict.
Soon after the treaty was signed, Richard left for England. And Saladin, he passed away the very next year in 1193.
And when he died, his friends opened his personal treasury to pay for his funeral. And they found almost nothing.
He had given nearly all of his personal wealth away to the poor. He was buried in a simple tomb in Damascus.
His legacy is just immense. He's seen as this model of leadership, of justice, and of compassion. He showed you could be powerful without being a tyrant.
He's one of the very few figures in history who is remembered positively by pretty much everyone. By the cultures he led and the ones he fought against.
His story really does act as a bridge. It shows that respect and honor can exist even in the middle of the fiercest conflict.
In the end, the quiet scholar showed that true strength doesn't just come from a sword, it comes from wisdom and honor.
And that's a powerful lesson.
Good luck with your studies.